What's going on, everybody? Happy Sunday. Welcome back to yet another watch list video. Hope you all had a great weekend. Welcome back. Last week was pretty eventful, but not in a trading way for me, right? More speculating, right? I sat back, didn't take a single trade, watched all the earnings play out, and even Leopold's portfolio unfold. But what made it a good week for me was I wasn't antsy to trade, and I was comfortable really doing nothing all week. So looking back, I just don't think I missed a single thing by not trading, right? Patience can really put you ahead of the curve in a big mental capital kind of way, right? It's the most important thing to be patient, especially in volatile, bad environments for a swing trader. But maybe not as much for, a day trader, right? Could be a good environment for that, right? Quick thoughts after scanning. Still don't see much that's like really tight and ready to go for tomorrow. Lots of weekly charts with reversal bars at interesting spots. But we need that really tough part, which is the follow through to the upside, right? You look at like an XLK, right? You get the big reversal bar with a little bit of a push in volume from the prior week or two, right at the 20 week. Your SMH, which had the highest volume in the last year or two, right at an important spot, but nice reversal bar. Could we get a bounce off this or an inside week and then a bounce? I don't know. You look at the IVW, I think it is. Right, I looked at this one, right? The S&P 500 growth. I really like this reversal bar. It looks obviously like the S&P 500, but you close green. You had a little bit of a push in volume from the past 3 weeks. Just a super nice pullback and a nice spot here. So it's interesting. Obviously, I'll throw up the SPY. Same thing. In fact, this one's trying to build a higher low prior to that June washout low. Even to go to a monthly chart, we are so tight, right? Month just closed to not a double inside, but just an inside month. So maybe we can get something going, whether it's to the downside or the upside in this next month. It's been pretty dry here as we've just been consolidating, but super interesting spot for sure, right? I want to start the week off slow, patient. There's still tons of earnings ahead on high beta names that could gap up big. I guess that's a big problem with a lot of other ones because some of the names that have been acting good are holding up really well. That could be viable in a few days of tightness, right? They report earnings this week. So don't want to chase a gap up. Don't want to start the week off bad. Just want to be patient, right? There's tons of opportunity after earnings report, right? Even destroyed names can change character on a big earnings gap up. So the plan is just track relative strength and do not trade it, right? At least not yet until the environment can improve and other things like that, right? Throwing on the futures real quick. I'm going to go through this, right? You're getting a little gap up in your futures market. Don't know how to feel too much about this, right? You kind of got that resting bar on Friday. We'll see what can come of that, but I don't want to be chasing a gap up, right? Obviously, this is on like that Trump and Iran news. So these things are gapping up. Same thing with your ES. Obviously, don't want to be chasing this, but it's interesting to note that crude gapping down, but looks like it trying to build maybe a lower high. I don't know just yet, or trying to build a lower high in here, or a higher low. I don't know. To me, this looks like a lower high spot. Who knows? Maybe it breaks down. But just not much to do here in that aspect. I will say the oil names list goes on forever. So don't get yourself distracted with the crude oil futures. Look at Velo, if I can spell here, right? Velo's acting awesome. Dino is acting awesome. PBF is acting awesome, right? Inside day, PARR. This is acting absolutely awesome. Maybe some sideways, not viable in a lot of these, but I mean, OVV, right? This thing's earnings is out of the way, right? It's building a huge base. Like I said, I probably am not gonna be buying these names, but just wanted to monitor them, right? These names are building big bases and they're acting awesome. So don't want to get too distracted looking at a crude oil being like it's a lower high when that group's acting awesome. If you can find yourself into that, into those groups, that's great, right? Your dollar, we saw the failed breakout last week and it's still continuing lower here. That's interesting to keep an eye on. But I mean, yeah, it did what it did, and you got your Kospi bouncing off the 200-day and a possible rest day so far today. I think that's needed. This stuff has gotten super volatile. Whether you look at your semis, your memories, the Korean stuff, as far as memory, like your Samsung, SK Hynix, but overall you're getting a little bit of a rest day here and a little bit of a gap down. So interesting to say the least, right? Going over breadth real quick, if I can do that, right? You had the big capitulation day on Wednesday, right? We had a lot of stocks down, a little bit up, and then the next day we had that big bounce in breadth, right? But it really came on tons of stocks that were beaten down and not coming out of tight consolidation. So I don't know, not too much to say there, right? You look at Pradeep's. Pradeep's didn't really have too much. I think what was that? 729. I mean, it kind of did, right? 729, 550 down. So it kind of, and then the next day was a bounce. And then Friday was, just a regular average day of more stocks being down. And, not in a bad way, but just continuing what we've seen. Let me go through the ETFs and the market really fast. I'm going to try to speed through this, right? SPY, we talked about awesome action on Friday, pushing through the prior day high, getting back above the 50-day, the 10 and the 20, and we're getting a gap up. We'll see. The weekly chart I talked about looks great. The monthly looks awesome. Looks like to me it wants to continue higher. RSP, nice failed breakout to a squat right at the 20-day and an inside day, looks pretty good, right? The mags, huge higher low, right? You look at a weekly chart, big higher low spot, super nice week. Obviously on the back of an Amazon big gap up, which is on my list. I'll be watching this for a high volume close setup through Friday's close. But if you're going to get a big gap up, there's not much for me to do there. Seems like we're probably going to get that. If we do, it is what it is. Or maybe we push in the morning and then come back right to the HVC or the earnings close, and that'll be an area I watch for an undercut and rally or reversal spot. It'll be super interesting to see it actually bounce off there, and then I'll look to try to take something. But we'll see. This gap up's huge, and even some consolidation in the next few weeks is absolutely welcomed, right? Microsoft was a nice follow through from the HVC. Looks like another one that's going to be pushing in your after hours. But yeah, I mean, this thing is acting absolutely awesome. It's a reason why the SPY is acting so good, and even Google, right? Super nice push on Friday after all of its friends did the same. And I mean, you look at like an Apple pulls into the 50-day, just barely below it. Looks like to me maybe it could try to build a higher low off here. I would think it probably does, but who knows? I will say though, Amazon and Microsoft, big days, and just ones that continue to watch for consolidation post earnings. These are some big gap ups, and my favorite to continue to watch into the next few weeks, right? Maybe this goes sideways, gets tight while semis get destroyed, and then the semis bottom unless they already have, and then Amazon and some mags can lead. I can see it happening, but yeah, like just looking at that mags, super nice undercut of the 200-day tight, and then you get the earnings and it pushes right back through. This is a big character change day. We'll see how it can act the next few days with all the rest of the earnings. Cyber is another one, super tight right off that 50-day inside day, and then it pushes through that prior day high in a beautiful way. The weekly chart looks good. These names continue to act awesome, whichever those names may be. I have like maybe one of them as far as cybersecurity on my list, right? PanW doesn't look too bad. Maybe an inside day tomorrow could be good. I could throw this on the list if I wanted to. Crowd is another one that offered actually a really nice spot on Friday. Will it hold? I don't know, but right through that prior day high, through that little 3-day consolidation was nice, and it's got a big pivot above its head. So this group is still acting so awesome, and definitely one of the best groups. IGV, right? A lot of software names are trying to emerge above their 200-day, and already are emerging above their 200-day, and maybe building stage 1 bases, whatever it may be, right? But obviously you had Microsoft act so awesome, and Oracle, don't want to talk about this one too much, but it is a big holding, right? You came right into a huge support area, you undercut it last week, and then you rallied back through it this week. Maybe it's bottomed, I don't know. Not something I'm going to be staring at, but definitely looks to me like could be like Twilio is just a random software name. You get an inside week, doesn't look too bad. Is it trying to build a higher low here? It very possibly could. It did here on the daily, which looks good, but it's got earnings coming up. So if it gets a gap up on earnings, it'll be something on my list the day it gaps up, and it'll be something I definitely pay attention to. But there's so many software names I could throw up on this list that look good. Snow is a software name, right? I'm just thinking like maybe a pullback into the pivot as a retest setup could be interesting. Net as a software name, right? You come into that prior pivot rejected on Friday. It's got earnings coming up though, but a few days of tightness or an earnings gap up or maybe a muted reaction, and then we can get some follow through a setup would be interesting. Datadog is another software name, right? You come right into the pivot. It's just building a super nice cup with almost handle base, but either way, just a nice base overall with a pivot above its head. Few days of tightness, earnings out of the way even, and this would definitely be a name I want to continue to keep an eye on. Or just some sort of a pullback, earnings is muted. I don't know, we'll see, but definitely want to keep an eye on. TENB, actually, I think this is cybersecurity, but another software name, big like washout and rally back through the gap up on earnings, and then an inside day on Friday. Can we push through that? Would be super interesting. You're kind of getting a little bit tight here, like above the 50. So super interesting spot with an inside day. The weekly chart looks really good. That big earnings gap down gave this thing a big shakeout reversal bar. So it looks pretty interesting there. And I'll continue to watch this one tomorrow. ARKG, right? Looks fine. The weekly chart looks awesome, right? Nice, really nice reversal bar on that prior resistance from over here, right? That's right where we bounced, right off the 50. Gave an awesome spot off the 50, right? Twist is another one in that group that looks really good. It's building a range. It held the 50 pretty much. The weekly chart looks fine, but it's got earnings coming up on, Monday. So that'll be super interesting to see how that one acts. I'll definitely keep an eye on it. But until then, we'll have to see. QQQ, right? Reversal bar on the weekly, another one, obviously. But just lots of overhead supply, no real edge there. Obviously, like I look at a DRAM, same thing, right? Just rejecting prior support like I talked about last week from over here, right? Literally to a T, right in that area. Not much to do there except short, but obviously I don't want to be shorting now. But I mean, if you were able to get that short, that's interesting. SMH, same thing, right? That prior support came right into there, breached it and failed. So just don't say anything to the long side yet, right? You had a big bounce. Can we maybe build a higher low in here or go sideways? And then I'll have more of an edge there and more of a read, but I don't see too much there. WGMI is another group where it's like so volatile. Tons of earnings in this group coming out this week, so will be super interesting, but not anything I'm interested in trading. Let these things continue to act like shit. And be super volatile, and then we'll see what can come of that. But NBIS, I would love to just watch, keep an eye on, especially with that earnings coming up. Give us an earnings gap up, and that I'm all over it. But for now, don't see much to do. Going through the watch list, I want to keep this video short. Like I said, there's not too much to do, so don't want to sit here and ramble on forever. But Amazon, watching for an earnings close, either retest or just like a move through it tomorrow if we get some sort of pull in the morning. I don't know. We'll see. DDOG earnings coming up, but just a few days of tightness would be interesting. Dell, you rejected the your resistance gap, bear gap, whatever you want to call it. I did talk about that on Thursday, that I was concerned of that area, and we rejected there. I didn't get short. I didn't really get short anything, but although I did see AMD and this Dell right at big spots, right? AMD at the 50-day rejected it. Absolutely perfect. If I look at a 5-minute chart, right, you get a tiny little push and then you just fail right below VWAP right there. Just super nasty. That was a perfect short spot, but I just didn't feel like doing anything, so didn't get into those. Dell, same thing. But at the same time, you kind of just got a big bounce up. Maybe we fall back down, or maybe we gap up, go sideways, whatever. But build a higher low and I'll pay attention to it. But for right now, I don't see any spot to buy this. I want to be watching for super tight, low risk spots, and I just don't see that yet in a lot of these. HPE, another one that's been acting great, right? It's above its 50 compared to like a Dell. It's building a nice, super nice base. It's super tight on a weekly chart. Continue to keep an eye on this name. It's one of the best looking ones for sure. Will the base fail? There's a very high chance it will, even though a lot of people may not think that that's possible. But some tightness over here. There's no earnings in the way, right? Earnings already happened when you had that parabolic move, but a few days of tightness, some other stuff gets tight, the market gets some follow through, and HP is one of the first names I would most likely go to on a follow through day as early as Tuesday. So super interesting. Eli Lilly, wanted to talk about this name. I like the washout. Earnings is coming up, so it's probably not an idea that I'm going to go with, but nice washout right at the 50-day. You held above it. A push through Friday's high will be a super interesting spot. The XLV doesn't look too bad. Same kind of look, right? The weekly chart, maybe not so much, but a kind of like a failed break, or you try to break out, you pull in on that gap down, and it's like a squat here. So we'll be seeing if that's what's going to happen, but it doesn't look too bad. Above the priority high, and Eli Lilly is what I'll watch. Don't think it looks too bad. Net, another name that reminds me of Datadog, where obviously software, but comes up into that pivot, rejects on Friday. A lot of people are trying to chase this as a breakout maybe, but just let it build a higher low, let it kind of pull in a little bit, build a higher low, or just get tight here, build a higher low. Who knows? Either way, it's something I'm going to continue to keep an eye on. S, another one, right? A few more days of tightness. I don't know. Maybe this one was buyable last week at some point, but the weekly charts and inside week looks pretty damn good. It's back above the 200. It's acting super nice. It's trying to build something. So let it keep building, and the market environment will improve, and we can get this as a higher low setup. If not, it's already been there. Snow, I talked about, pull into the pivot will be interesting, right? You kind of built a range, you broke out of it, but the market was just not good enough. So in my opinion, I do think that it's very possible this thing can pull back in, shake the people that are buying this as a breakout, shake them out, build a higher low somewhere over in here maybe, or even right at the pivot. That's where I'll be looking to get it. But if not, this name can easily probably go higher. The weekly chart looks great, but I think an inside week even would be great. Earnings is not for a few weeks, so if that's even the earnings. TENB, I talked about this one as well, so that's pretty much going to be everything, right? Patience into the early week seems best, but we'll see if the few names that have been showing relative strength, they're building bases off of a tight spot to manage risk and enter them, like I talked about, HP, Datadog, things like that. Besides that, wait and watch the earnings. Protect that mental capital. It's the most important thing. Patience is the most important thing. So when the idea, that big pitch, or that big idea comes up, you'll be ready to fully focus on it and capitalize on it in the best way possible that I can, and that you can, and we all can, right? Hope you all have a great week ahead. Stay cautious, stay safe until things change, because when they do, you'll hear my thoughts, and we'll have those names on the radar. But the watch list has just been super dry. So until then, hope you all have a good one. Peace.